88-HOME or visit homeparamount.com.
Developing news tonight, bombshell Russia emails released by Donald Trump Jr. explicitly offering him dirt on Hillary Clinton from the Russian government to help his father's campaign before his controversial meeting with a Russian attorney who responds tonight in an NBC News exclusive. The different stories she tells and what this all means legally for President Trump, his son, and the White House. Deadly military crash. 16 service members killed when their plane goes down in flames in Mississippi. What went wrong? Close call. How a runway mistake nearly ended in disaster when a passenger plane came in for a landing in San Francisco. And sharing the jackpot. How one lucky family is spreading the wealth and inspiring America. Nightly News begins right now.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening. It's nice to have you with us tonight. We start with a bombshell chain of emails breathing new life into the question of whether the Trump campaign colluded with Russian operatives to boost his chances. The potentially damaging messages were revealed today by President Trump's eldest son. In a startling admission, Donald Trump Jr. releasing emails today that confirm he met last year with someone described as a Russian government attorney, who the president's son was told had dirt on Hillary Clinton. The emails making it clear that the Russian government was supporting Trump. You'll hear our exclusive interview with that official in a few moments. But first, national correspondent Peter Alexander with today's surprising revelations.
Of course. Hey guys, how are you? Hello.
Tonight, what Donald Trump Jr. knew and when he knew it in black and white. On June 3, 2016, a trusted associate emails Trump Jr. that one of Donald Trump's former business partners had been contacted by a senior Russian government official and was offering the Trump campaign information that would incriminate Hillary Clinton and her dealings with Russia and would be very useful to your father. Adding, this is obviously very high level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government's support for Mr. Trump. Minutes later, Trump Jr.'s reply, "If it's what you say, I love it." June 7th, after trading several emails, the associate suggests a meeting at Trump Tower with the Russian government attorney who's flying over from Moscow for this. Trump Jr. agrees, adding it's likely he'll bring Paul Manafort, campaign boss, and my brother-in-law, Jared Kushner. That night, after clinching the nomination, Mr. Trump promises more dirt on Clinton.
I think you're going to find it very informative and very, very interesting.
The next day, Kushner and Manafort are added to Trump Jr.'s email chain. June 9th, the men meet at Trump Tower with Natalia Veselnitskaya as Mr. Trump trades combative tweets with Clinton, punctuated by this: "Where are your 33,000 emails that you deleted?" Within a week, the first in a flood of leaks believed to be the result of Russian hackers. There's no evidence the information Trump Jr. was promised was connected to that. The next month, Trump Jr. attacks the Clinton campaign for suggesting a Russian plot to help his father.
It's disgusting. It's so phony. They will lie and do anything to win.
Trump Jr., who's offered shifting explanations about the meeting, today posting the email exchange on Twitter, earning praise from the president. "My son is a high-quality person, and I applaud his transparency." But the younger Trump only shared the emails after the New York Times says it informed him it was about to publish them. On Capitol Hill, fierce criticism.
This is moving into perjury, false statements, and even into potentially treason.
Tonight, Trump Jr., who says the Russian lawyer had no information to provide, is breaking his silence on Fox News, explaining his motivation for taking the meeting.
Things are going a million miles an hour again, and hey, wait a minute. I've heard about all these things, but maybe this is something. I should hear them out.
Tonight here at the White House, aides close to the president say he's frustrated with the focus on Russia. Notably, he hasn't held a single public event since this story broke over the weekend. Meantime, the special counsel, Robert Mueller, keeps staffing up and is now up to 16 lawyers and counting. Lester?
All right, Peter Alexander at the White House. Now to our NBC News exclusive interview with that Russian attorney at the center of the firestorm involving Donald Trump Jr. Tonight, she's disputing some of the claims made in the emails he released and gives her side of the story about what happened when they came face-to-face at Trump Tower. She sat down with NBC's Keir Simmons today in Moscow.
Tonight, we showed Russian lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya the emails Donald Trump Jr. released. Emails where she's described as a Russian government attorney and part of Russia and its government support for Mr. Trump.
Here, Donald Trump Jr. is told that they want to schedule a meeting with him and the Russian government attorney who is flying over from Moscow. The Russian government attorney. That means you.
No, I'm certainly flattered by being marked and called as a government attorney, but I have never worked for the government in the first place.
She says that meeting with Donald Trump Jr., Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, and campaign chairman Paul Manafort was arranged by Russian pop star Emin Agalarov and publicist Rob Goldstone, but that she never met either of them beforehand. Once inside, she says, only one person talked to her.
Donald. He was the only one I was speaking to.
She says she was there to lobby against a law she said was affecting her client, a well-connected Russian, a law that also imposed sanctions on Russia. But she says he was interested in information about possible illegal donations to Democrats.
I can tell you right now, I have never referred to any compromising information about Miss Clinton.
She says Kushner left after 7 to 10 minutes of the 20 to 30-minute meeting, and that Manafort was not paying attention.
The man who's constantly looking into his phone.
They had the impression, it appears, that they were going to be told some information that you had about the DNC. How did they get that impression?
It might be their desire to see that in my story, from the story I was telling them about, and they saw only something they were interested in.
She wanted the Trump team to help her testify before Congress about changing U.S. law. She says Donald Trump Jr. told her they'd get back to her if they won. Lester?
Keir Simmons in Moscow tonight. Let's turn now to the Today Show Savannah Guthrie, our resident attorney and Washington veteran. Savannah, for folks who've been following around the edges of this Russia story, what just happened here today? Did it cross into a new legal territory?
Well, I think we've seen a piece of evidence that would be quite compelling to the Mueller investigators. Bob Mueller, the special counsel who's looking into this, now has an incredibly compelling piece of evidence. It comes from Donald Trump Jr. himself, and it signals a willingness not just to get information that's damaging to Hillary Clinton, but that he knows it's from the Russian government, or it's purported to be from the Russian government, and he greets it enthusiastically. And according to this email, even is thinking about when would it be best to deploy that information, saying late summer would be great. So yes, potentially there's legal exposure, but people should take a deep breath. I can assure you that this is just one piece of the puzzle that Bob Mueller is looking into. He will place it in context with regard to other meetings. He'll be looking for other emails. He'll be looking to interview these witnesses. You know, a lot of these election law statutes that we're talking about can be pretty technical and pretty complicated, but when you're talking to federal investigators, then you start running the risk of a false statement, a perjury charge. So the legal exposure is all over this place.
And then what about the political exposure? The president's called this a witch hunt in the past. He's blamed Democrats, the press. Again, this comes from his own son.
And that's the biggest issue there. It's hard to call it a witch hunt when this evidence is not fake news. It's coming from your own son. And as I just outlined, it acknowledges a lot of things that have been denied at the highest level by the president himself. So this is a political problem right now. Might be a legal problem down the road. Political problem right now. And the ones to watch are Republicans in Congress. How much stomach do they have to carry the water for this president when they don't know what the next shoe is to drop?
All right, Savannah, always good to have you here with us. Thank you very much. Now to a deadly tragedy for the U.S. military. In Mississippi, a Marine transport plane fell out of the sky during a training mission, killing all 16 service members aboard. Tonight, the cause is still a mystery. NBC News Pentagon correspondent Hans Nichols has details.
Tonight, the Pentagon says 15 Marines and 1 Navy corpsman were on the cargo plane flattened in a soybean field, killing everyone on board.
There's a plane crash on County Road 286 near the county line.
First responders air explosion. The KC-130 took off from Cherry Point, North Carolina, headed for El Centro, California. But while over Mississippi at 20,000 feet, the plane lost contact with air traffic control and began to lose altitude. An eyewitness reported seeing smoke from the plane as it twirled down.
At first, I thought it was like a stunt plane, you know, acrobatic deal, the way it was nose diving down.
Sometime before impact, it turned over, hitting the ground upside down with almost no skid marks. The aircrew attached to the reserve Squadron 452, the Yankees based in Newburgh, New York. Some of the Marines from Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Pentagon officials calling the KC-130 one of the safest planes in the fleet.
If there wasn't a Mayday call or any kind of communication, that would suggest that whatever occurred in flight at 20,000 feet was instantaneous.
It's the deadliest crash since 2005 when a helicopter went down in an Iraqi sandstorm, killing 30 on board. The families of those killed are being notified, but officials have confirmed that among the dead are 6 Marines and 1 sailor who were members of an elite special operations unit. Lester?
Hans Nichols at the Pentagon tonight. Thank you. The battle over a bill to repeal and replace Obamacare has become so heated that senators will now have to work through part of their vacation later this summer in an effort to approve a new plan. NBC's Casey Hunt reports on the latest idea aimed at a compromise.
The Republican path to repealing Obamacare uncertain tonight. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announcing he's forcing senators to stay in Washington an extra 2 weeks this summer to try and get a deal.
We intend to fully utilize the first 2 weeks in August.
Secret negotiations to get 50 GOP votes are still at a fever pitch. Now centered on a conservative proposal from Ted Cruz to let people buy cheaper insurance if they're willing to trade away the essential health benefits in Obamacare like maternity care or mental health services.
Expanding consumer freedom, letting you, the consumer, choose what health insurance you want to purchase. That's the key to lowering premiums.
But they can only lose 2 votes. And the Cruz amendment is quickly splintering the party, alienating moderates who worry it could drive up prices for sicker Americans. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is already talking about cracking a deal with Democrats.
There's an emerging new approach that I will talk to you about in the next 24 to 48 hours.
He's already approached a Democrat from deep red West Virginia, where 1 in 3 people rely on Medicaid.
We're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and we're not going to go down that path. But I says, sitting down to really repairing what's wrong, we could do that.
In Virginia, Kim Crawley is concerned about Medicaid, too. Her son Isaac has a rare birth defect, born before Obamacare was law.
When he was 15 months old, he hit his lifetime maximum for his insurance policy, and that was $2 million.
Now she relies on Medicaid.
We didn't need Medicaid before Isaac, and this could happen to anybody. Anybody could have a child with a need. Anybody could suffer a catastrophic accident tomorrow.
The negotiations are continuing. Republicans now planning to keep some of the taxes on the wealthy that were part of Obamacare, and they insist they're on track to release a new version of the bill on Thursday. Lester?
Casey Hunt at the Capitol. Thank you, Casey. Thousands of police officers converged in a church here in New York to remember an officer assassinated by a gunman last week. The 48-year-old mother of 3 was only the 3rd woman in the New York City Police Department to be killed in the line of duty. NBC's Ron Allen tonight with the emotional tribute.
I love you, Bob.
Officer Mia Sotis Familia's 3 children, who she raised herself, mourning their mom.
Words can't even explain how I feel right now.
Hailed as a hero, thousands of officers from across the country and as far away as Australia paying their respects to a girl from the neighborhood, the youngest of 10, first to graduate college, always determined to serve, first nursing, and later in her 30s, realizing her dream of becoming a cop. Murdered the night of the 4th of July in a police command vehicle by an ex-con on parole who police say was mentally ill and angry at cops.
I want her legacy to be full of love. Love is what we have to do.
Familia is the 7th NYPD officer killed in 5 years. Across the nation, officer deaths spiking to 135 last year. Today, New York's police commissioner urged the public to look out for officers like Familia.
Mia Sotis was targeted, ambushed, and assassinated. She wasn't given a chance to defend herself. That should matter to every single person who can hear my voice in New York City and beyond.
Mia Sotis Familia, today promoted to detective, was laid to rest exactly 12 years to the day she joined the NYPD. An officer and a mom named for a flower that means forget-me-not. Ron Allen, NBC News, New York.
We'll take a short break. When we come back, runway mistake. A very close call when a passenger plane almost lands on a taxiway crowded with 4 other planes. We'll look at how this near disaster all unfolded. Also, human chain rescue. Dramatic images of dozens of strangers joining hands to save a family from drowning. Hope you can stay with us.
Working hard to lower your LDL bad cholesterol? Not making enough progress? You eat well, take the highest dose statin you can, but still aren't getting where you need to be. Now there's Repatha, a different way to reduce LDL and get on the path to dramatically lower numbers. Repatha works differently than your statin to help clear LDL. Repatha plus the highest dose statin drove down LDL an average of 71% more than a statin alone.
Do not take Repatha if you are allergic to it. Repatha may cause allergic reactions. Signs include redness, severe rash or itching, swollen face, or trouble breathing. The most common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like symptoms, back pain, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site.
Added to a highest dose statin, Repatha lowered LDL below 70 for up to 90% of people. Ask if Repatha can get you on the path to way lower LDL.
How are your teeth whiter than mine?
Your strips are slippy, mine are grippy. Crest White Strips stay in place.
Crest White Strips professional effects lock in the whitening for a whiter smile.
These aren't going anywhere.
These are. Crest, healthy, beautiful smiles for life.
Nothing spoils a moment like heartburn. Try new Alka-Seltzer Ultra Strength Heartburn Relief Chews. It's fast, powerful relief with no chalky taste. Ultra Strength, new from Alka-Seltzer. Enjoy the relief.
The Ford Summer Sales Event is in full swing.
They are not listening to me.
Watch this. Who wants ice cream?
So that's how you get them to listen.
Take on summer right with Ford, America's best-selling brand. Now with summer's hottest offer. Get 0% for 72 months plus an additional $1,000 on top of your trade-in. During the Ford Summer Sales Event, get 0% for 72 months plus an additional $1,000 on top of your trade-in. Offer ends soon.
This week, take me back in time. Journey with today into the air.
So cool!
To discover an underground masterpiece. Incredible. To explore the world of a top predator. Into the air, land, and sea. A special series on Today.
Only on NBC. Sunday night with Megyn Kelly. Sharp, strong journalism and the power of NBC News.
You have to tell this story.
Sunday night with Megyn Kelly. Sundays at 7, 6 Central on NBC.
We're back now with a close call involving an Air Canada jet that almost landed on a San Francisco taxiway crowded with 4 other jets. Had the plane touched down, it could have caused one of the worst disasters in aviation history. We get details from NBC's Tom Costello.
At the last minute, disaster averted in San Francisco.
Where's this guy going? He's on the taxiway. Air Canada go around.
In the go-around, I count 759. An Airbus A320 nearly landing on a taxiway where 4 other planes were preparing to depart.
United 1, Air Canada flew directly over us. Yeah, I saw that guy.
It was just before midnight Friday when the Air Canada pilots arriving from Toronto seemed confused about landing on runway 28 right.
Tower, just want to confirm this Air Canada 759. We see some lights on the runway there. Across the runway, can you confirm a clear to land?
Air Canada 759 confirmed clear to land runway 28 right. There is no one on 28 right, flight view.
Suddenly, other pilots issued a warning and controllers ordered Air Canada to go around.
Where's this guy going? He's on the taxiway. Air Canada go around.
In the go around, Air Canada 759.
There's that taxiway.
At Flight Deck Anaheim, retired pilot Ross Amer demonstrated how a crew might confuse taxiway Charlie for runway 28 right.
If this accident was not averted, we're talking perhaps 1,000 lives, 4, 5 aircraft involved.
There have been close calls before. Earlier this year, Harrison Ford flew right over the top of an American Airlines plane, landing on a taxiway instead of the runway in Orange County.
Bottom line is these pilots are going to be interviewed by a lot of investigators. They got a lot of questions to answer. They're not going anywhere for a while.
Tonight, both the FAA and Air Canada say they're investigating what could have been a deadly mistake. Tom Costello, NBC News, Washington.
Up next here tonight, why fans may start noticing something a bit different about America's favorite frog.
Why would you go out of your way and wander around a warehouse for paint when you can just swing by your local Ace? Ace has top-rated paint like Valspar, can match any color, and mixes it with something that's hard to find. Award-winning service. Because the way we see it, if anyone is going to go out of their way,
it should be us.
It's the Ace Extra Mile.